We had a lot of conversation on the internet about DOGE.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Seems like some people are pretty upset about this DOGE.
Well, yeah, I don't get it. I'm actually on board with what I'm hearing. What was Jon Stewart saying?
John had a fire piece. John's the GOAT.
Yeah, we loved. Obviously, I'm a big fan. I'm a fan. What do you say?
He's just saying, like, if you want to start cutting places, there's a lot of easier targets to cut. Like,
if we got the piece, you could play the first 30 seconds or so.
But they might bang us on YouTube.
I guess you're right. Yeah. All right, so go. What does he say?
But just like, hey, we can cut Pentagon defense spending. We can
love
cut
all this.
Yeah.
We can stop giving, what was it, like hedge fund? No, it was the gas companies, like $3 billion in subsidies when they're already profitable by trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Doing the thing that John always does, which is like pointing out the most awesome things.
Yeah.
And he's just brilliant at it. So here's the frustration with DOGE. And we're having this talk about on Idiots too, is and it's a real bummer that this becomes such like a bipartisan conversation a partisan conversation because there is bipartisan support for it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every single American is like, there's probably some government inefficiency. No one really trusts the government that much anymore, right? They either don't trust the Republicans, they don't trust the Democrats, or they don't trust the institutions as a whole, right? So this is the time in history to go get some of the bloat out of government, right? Because we all seem to support it. Even Bernie Sanders is like, I don't agree with Trump on everything, but I do agree we should look into that Pentagon budget. Why have they never been audited?
Yeah.
Like there is support here. And because of the way that they're maybe going about it, right? They're kind of, I don't even know if this has happened historically. Charlemagne was pointing out that like Clinton did it, but he did it through government. But because this guy, who's this very polarizing figure, Elon, is coming in and he's just seemingly hacking away at these different industries that are connected to government. Some people feel like without any real justification, like I guess maybe they don't understand why he feels so confident that he can cut these jobs. Yeah. Is that the concern?
Well, he's also hired a lot back.
And then some of them are hired back, which I think should happen.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
But I guess the tricky thing right here, I'm curious you guys' take on this, is that like there's all the support, and because Elon is so polarizing, I actually think it's going to be harder to execute something that Americans as a whole do want.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things where like being antagonistic and polarizing, like being what Elon is actually hurting a very bipartisan supported effort, which is to clean up government.
Yep.
And I wonder if he can look at this and learn and go, oh shit, I'm actually doing something that people want to do, people want in a way that is going to make it harder. Or do you think he just looks at it as a CEO and goes, I'm cutting and I don't give a fuck what you
The latter.
Yeah.
That one.
And that's just going to piss people off.
Yes.
But that's how he's done with every company. Did that with Tesla, he did that with
not a company.
Twitter.
But go on.
That's why they got him for it. They're like, hey, you got to start treating the government like a company.
Which I don't disagree with in principle at all.
I do. Because it's like, these are government agencies that were put there to fix a problem. It wasn't like, hey, this is just a profitable thing that we just have to, our only concern is making profit.
Here's where I would say, and
So
maybe
you
there's
have
a
to be
middle
more
ground between
delicate
what I'm
with the
saying
cuts.
and what you're saying. If you are not driven on in some fashion by some kind of bottom line, there is going to be bloat because there's no incentive for the government to ever lay off anyone. And this is where I agree with what Vivek was saying. The government bloats because you can't fire anybody. Because why would you? They're government employees. They don't have to work hard. They don't have to do anything. The simple email, this seemed to cause, and to me, I'm an idiot. Simply asking, what did you get done this week? Is a very easy thing. And if you have trouble with that email, to me, it's as an idiot, granted, it seems like you didn't do anything this week probably, and your job is probably losable.
Yeah.
And I look at that as like, yo, who the fuck are you? I have people that I report to, heads of my agency. They're the ones that I answer to. I'm not answering to some motherfucker who just was granted this power and unconstitutionally. And now I have to prove my worth to this guy. Fuck him.
That's how I give a counterpoint.
I got this message from Jason yesterday at 11:03 p.m. Guys, I don't recommend sending a DOGE email to your wife to provide 5 bullet points of what they accomplished last week.
Shouts to Jason, dude. That's so good.
That's funny.
That's really good.
Son,
Yeah.
we should do that and just get the reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. That's,
You're not doing that shit.
I'm gonna drop it right now and just see it. Just no context. I'm gonna ask.
Wait, how you framing it?
I'm gonna say, hey, can you send me just a 5 bullet point message of what
Are we
you
all
got
doing
accomplished this last week?
No, I can't
Mine's
do
gonna
it.
come back with like a list of
everyone's
Mine's gonna come back with like a list of 20,
y'all ain't all doing
and
it-
she gonna be like, word.
I already told my wife what Jason texted the group.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I did.
Yeah.
She's listening in live.
Yeah,
now.
Jason
She
sent
just
the
heard
same
it.
message.
I wonder if that's even I wonder if that's a real piece of change that he's trying to implement, or that's just an antagonistic measure to rile up the base.
I don't care either way. Send the fucking email.
Right.
To me, just send the email. Like, oh, I'm antagonized, so I'm not going to report on what I did. If you did something, send the email.
Well, what does it do? I think that's my question about it is like, what does it do? It just puts them in a position where they're going to have to potentially lie. I just don't know if it's effective. Nobody's going to answer that email. I've done nothing. You should probably fire me next. They're going to find bullshit that they did, so we don't actually get to clean anything up. And now you got people bickering online over something we actually agree on.
Yeah, they're also gonna use AI to like analyze it, I think, which that might be easy to trick.
What does that mean?
Like I think like they're like getting all these federal emails like from thousands and thousands of people. So they're gonna have
5 million federal employees.
So they're gonna have AI like parse what people did and like the top performing people and the lower performing people.
Yeah.
And so that seems gamifiable to me.
Yo, I wonder if they went about this a little different. Like instead of doing it on a person to person basis, which these emails are, right? Because that's when I start to have empathy for someone who's about to lose their job and now said they provide for their family, right? And now I'm less supportive of these cutting measures that DOGE is doing. But rather analyze the different, I don't know what you would even call them. Like, what would you call like, it's not a business
Department?
department. Yeah. Analyze these departments for inefficiency as a whole. Prove transparently to the American people that there is inefficiency there. Like I thought the most effective thing they did, and I don't even know if it's true, is showed all the dead people that are still getting Social Security. Right? I don't even know if that's a real thing. But if you could actually show proof that dead people were getting Social Security, like people who've been dead 200 years still getting Social Security, you have unanimous support from Americans to be like, all right, well, cut that guy's Social Security. He's been dead 200 years. So start at the department, show the inefficiency, and then you could pass it off to the senators or whoever you want to pass some sort of legislation to cut parts of that department. But when you go person to person and judging off the email they said, now I start to feel like, well, shit, I had a lazy week last week, but 2 weeks ago I was working overtime every single night. You didn't email me then?
Yeah.
But I think Elon's perspective, and he reposted this thing from Milton Friedman, which is basically they just go through every department and he just says, cut it. I think Milton Friedman had 3 that he wanted to keep. It was like justice. I forget. There was like 2 others. I don't even remember.
Right.
But everything else got to go. To cut all of them.
So then why are you even emailing if you know what you got to cut?
Well, I think that's what he's trying to do. He's
so,
trying
like-
to use that as proof to be like, yeah, all these got to go.
Pretty much going to every department and just firing everyone that's on probation, because those are the ones you can get away with firing because they're not, their job isn't actually finalized yet.
Got it.
And it's like, even that, it's like, all right, so now all this young crop of people who are probably qualified because if they got hired in the first place,
Right.
now you're just getting rid of all that. And now you're going to have just a bunch of old people who've been doing it the old way all this time. It's like, where's the change? Like, you're going to just have the same thing going on. And
I don't know
no
that
new
that's
change.
necessarily true.
Because usually what they do is they fire the old people
Yeah.
because they make way more money.
Yeah, but they're firing all the people on probation.
But why would the young people be on probation?
To clarify, it's not a
Somebody-
punishment probation. It's a probationary hiring period. You're on the beginning end
Sorry.
of it.
So maybe what they're doing is, maybe the thought behind it is, hey, these people aren't even officially hired. And if we know that these departments have a lot of bloat, why would we fire the people that have been working there for decades and that's what they've committed their life to? Why don't we lay off the people
I think
who
that's what you
haven't even
start
started?
with. And then eventually they're going to start cutting some of the bloat as well. I do think it's a multi-step process. I do think I'm okay with overcutting government right now because I know what will happen over time is things get added and bloated again. So it's just like, let's cut as much as we can now, and I'm sure over time.
That's a
it's gonna
good
blow
point
again.
because this is not like a one-time fix. You're
Yeah.
going to have to do this every single fucking year until the end of the country. And unfortunately, we probably are at a point where we're so bloated that we're going to need some pretty drastic cuts.
And dude,
beginning.
I was in California this weekend. Weather's obviously fucking awesome, all that. But you're like, oh, you're taxing us at 51% if you're in the top income bracket. But homelessness is still a rampant issue. Education didn't seem to be very good. Like public school system doesn't be good. And I'm not saying taxes never work and not taxing always works at all. But you have to accept that money seems to be getting used inefficiently, at least in the states that get taxed the highest. So why not cut those budgets down, see if the money can get used efficiently? At the very least, we're not wasting our tax money.
I talked to an FBI guy recently, and I was asking about like Cash Patel and like shutting down the Hoover building, all this stuff. He's like, you shouldn't shut it down, but he's like, there is so much bureaucracy and bloat within the FBI that you just have like people that have been there for 20 years that haven't done a case in like 3 decades, or like they've been there for their whole life, haven't done a case in 3 decades, and they don't know what's going on, and they get more risk averse over time. So like he's like, when I started, I was getting assigned on all these jobs, we were getting all these different cartels, we were getting all these different organized crime things, and now I'm trying to get assigned to stuff, and they're like, it's too risky, don't do it. And he's like, but my job is to go in and infiltrate and get these gangs. So like, what is my purpose? And like slowly he was getting pulled back and put on more easier jobs like busting buys and like little crack things. And he was like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So they're getting more risk averse. They're getting more comfortable in their positions. And he's like, yeah, you do need to get rid of a lot of people.
I wonder if that has to do with the like the reward matrix. Like with, cops, I think in the city, there's a quota to the amount of like tickets they have to give out. So you could go and find the really egregious things and go give them a ticket. Or you could wait in like a dark side street of a place where guys do like drag racing a lot.
Yeah.
And then clip them every Friday night when they're drag racing.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if you just gravitate towards the easiest things, which is the risk averse situation. But when at the FBI, the thing that's going to probably help the country the most is when you're going at the most dangerous. So now you're clipping this low level bullshit that isn't really helping the everyday person just so you can meet your quota.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to restructure the reward.
Yeah. And again, multi-step process. I think this is step one. I don't think this is the perfect solution. I just like actionable steps being taken.
I just wish because I like the fact that somebody from outside is coming in to make these changes.
Agreed.
Because I don't think people from within, we can't ask you, hey, how can we take money away from you and how can we fire your people?
Yeah.
They're not going to.
And if you were going to change it, you would have already done
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
But I think they should work alongside. So you have Elon working alongside with some of these department heads and things like that. And now it's like, okay, he's like, what does this department do? What is this money for? Like you have to do a bit more surgical cuts than the way that they're doing it right now. Because you saw they fired people that were in charge of fucking the nuclear warheads and shit like that, had to hire them back. And like that could have been a crazy mistake. I
get what he's saying. Like there is risk to the overfiring, especially in certain sectors.
I agree. I don't necessarily think that risk is I don't think the risk is so catastrophic. I think potentially firing these guys, we're not going to be like, oh shit, a nuke got fired. Like it's just, we're not firing the guys that are.
No, but that could have happened.
I think that's a bit hyperbolic. That's all I'm saying.
Also, you could hire them back. It's not like they're gonna work for like the nuke place down the block.
Yeah, but
like, they're the nuke guys.
Yeah, but we just don't know how much like other countries are targeting that thing. Like, say if there's one person who's like cybersecurity protecting other countries from accessing our nukes, and now we were just like with no security there for like a day or two.
I mean,
that was the one time, boom, they got in.
If I'm
like
any of our ops, I'm trying to get a spy into DOGE.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm trying to get them to push cuts in certain sectors that would be advantageous for me as the opposition. Yeah. So I want them to cut defense spending.
Yeah.
I want them to cut any sort of like security apparatus. Maybe it's a nuclear program. I would want them to cut development programs in AI or these other technological things that are really going to put America ahead of every other country in the world. Now, I'm sure there are certain measures that are, put in place to like stop that from happening, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about this. Is like a once in a lifetime opportunity if you're another country.
Bro, the way these other countries do this shit is so wild. I was reading the story. I was talking to this FBI guy, and he was telling me this thing that he infiltrated that they had. There's a guy that's one of the top neo-Nazis on Twitter, and he has like a bunch of Twitter accounts, and he's just putting in like all this racist bullshit.
What's his name?
Ronaldo Nazario. is putting all this like super racist shit. He just runs like hate pages. He's like, the Jews do this, black people do this, da da da. Look at this crime. We got to make America white. He's like a white supremacist. He lives in St. Petersburg. Gets apparently
Russia or Florida?
in Russia. Okay. Yeah, that's important. And yeah, he's in Russia. Apparently, he's like a teacher that teaches English, but is getting paid. Like apparently, someone like audited his bank account, like hacked into his thing. He's getting paid like millions of dollars to be like an English teacher, allegedly, and is pumping all this neo-Nazi shit, creating neo-Nazis in America, aggregating all these like incel kids, and then basically from St. Petersburg in Russia is like convincing them to do domestic terrorism. And like they're literally putting in spies, like domestic terrorists, infiltrating, getting them riled up, somehow getting them money in some cases, aggregating all of them, getting them like training techniques, sending them like field manuals from the Marines and shit, and basically like promoting them to do acts of terrorism.
And half of these idiots don't even, I bet 99% of these idiots don't even realize they're being manipulated.
Yeah.
They actually think they're fighting a good fight.
Yeah.
They're like, this guy's on point. He's got all the real research. I'm going to go and do my YouTube. My YouTube or my Googling to find out why this is all justified. And you can find a justification for anything. I mean, them motherfuckers believe the earth is flat.
Yeah.
So they are out there thinking they're doing the Lord's work when they're doing Putin's.
Crazy. And then they're setting up like, yo, we're going to shoot up this thing. We're going to try to free this guy from prison. We're going to go kill this family because they're communists. And they're literally plotting all the shit, buying all the equipment. And this FBI guy infiltrated them to take them out.
There's a guy, I forget his name, but he was bragging about how he was like one of the most viewed people on Twitter, right? And a lot of his shit is just like the Jews do this, the Jews do that, right? And they probably do, but but that's what his Twitter is. And he was talking about it. He's like, yeah, I was one of the most viewed on Twitter. And I wonder if he even realized that like those views might be amplified by our opposition.
Yeah.
They want that unrest in America.
It's crazy.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
And he's out there going, nah, the people really understand what I'm saying. They really care about what I'm saying. It's like, no, Russia does, China does. They don't even give a fuck about the Jews or not. It could be anybody. It could be Black Lives Matter. I'm sure that they were pumping the exact same people that were shitting all over Black Lives Matter. Wow.
Yeah.
This is the kind of information that we need out there.
Yeah.
So the people don't succumb to it, because you get those views, your tweets are popping.
Yeah.
You think you're lit.
Yeah.
You think you found out.
Yeah, this is literally from the BBC, this article. This guy, Nazar, is running a militant group from Russia.
Wow.
And this is just one guy. Like, I don't even know how many other guys there are that are doing this kind of stuff.
I'm sure we're doing the same shit
Probably.
over there, but they start to restrict their internet for that reason. Like we act like they restrict the internet in these other countries because like they want to control the ideology within the country. You can control the ideology within your country very easily.
Yeah.
You can't control it from the outside. Like I bet there's way more restriction in other countries simply because they got to worry about their ops. And we are probably the best at it.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like I'm not anti-free speech. Like I think we should have free speech, but also people need to know how free speech can be used against them.
So then that's the education process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like you might see something, it's like some racist guy on Twitter posting funny memes. And you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. But like you get in with them and then you start messaging them and then they're like, oh yeah, come join our like, our Telegram or whatever. And then you get on a Zoom call with them. Then you get vetted by this guy in Russia. He does a one-on-one call with you to see if you're good. Yeah. Sends you an address to go to. You meet with the guys over there.
You think Dan Bilzerian knows this? Like, do you think he knows he's been tricked into doing this?
Bro,